In the first part of this tutorial, I showed you how to download a 3D program, how to navigate in it. I talked a little about the interface, 3D in general, and I showed you how to model a sword step by step. So in this second part, we will take that sword and apply some basic materials to it, to add some color, and we will upload it to a website called Sketchfab that you can share with your friends and show it off. Enjoy. Alright, so before we start applying materials, just in case you've never used 3D before, what I'm going to do in this video is just applying flat colors, so it's not really texturing, and that is for two reasons. One, the current version of Blender I'm using is a bit unstable with the texture paint, so I can't really show you everything. In your case, it might be different because, if you're watching this in the future, then it'll be more stable. And the second reason is, again, because I'm taking into account that most of you guys will probably be complete beginners, so I think it's better to take it step by step, and texturing would be for another video, another subject. Anyway, so let's move on and start applying materials to this sword. Okay, so first thing I want you to do is go down to the right over here and look for the material icon. Don't panic if yours looks a bit different or has colors. It might change a bit during the beta of Blender 2.8. But anyways, once you click it, you can start creating a new material. So I'm going to create a new one over here. So new. And then with the plus sign, I can create more, and I will create 6 in total. And then I can name them, but since the keyboard is a bit far from my hand because of the setup I'm doing to record, I'll just do it, with shortcuts. So gray for the first one, and then dark, and then let's see, yellow, and green. And then, actually, since I'm over here, let me just fix these guys. It's fine, so that you don't get confused later on. Green, blue, and finally, brown. Don't worry, I'll explain why I'm doing this in a second. So, first thing you want to do is just give a quick color for each one of them. So this one's already gray. You can see here in the base color. Don't worry about the rest for now. We're just gonna keep it basic. For the darker one, same thing, but maybe darken it up a bit. For the yellow one, we're gonna go for a yellowish color, but not too saturated. Okay, there you go. And then for the green, we can go a bit more saturated. And for the blue, we'll go a lot more saturated. There you go. For the brown, we can go to around over here. The exact value and saturation is not really important for now. But anyways, for the brown one, I'm going to have to darken the color. And perfect. Okay, now we have all of the materials. We can play around with them later on to fix the colors once we start applying them to the sword. Just before applying the materials to the sword, I need to quickly explain that right now we are in the viewport. So there's a difference between the color over here, the base color, and if you scroll down, the viewport display. Now the difference is that if I grab the first one, for now everything is applied to the first material by default. If I change the base color over here, let me just copy it so that I can go back, Control C. So if I change it to maybe purple, nothing happens, right? But if I go down over here to the viewport display and I change this to maybe yellow, then we can see it changes the color of the sword. I'm gonna put this back. Since I copied the color a second ago, I can just hit Control V over the color. It'll just paste it over here. And I will paste it over here as well, just to put it back to gray. Now the color over here affects the render of the object. So what's the difference? Well, I don't want to get too technical over here, but basically when you watch movies, you're watching the rendered version, not what's in the viewport. So to check out the rendered version so that we can just quickly apply all of the materials, we can go to the third one over here. So this is the second icon. We have the third sphere. And this one is basically a really cool new feature in Blender 2.8. So first of all, it's a new render engine, which is Eevee. And second of all, the third one has its own HDRIs built in. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically just like lights. Let's just say that for now to keep things simple. So I'm going to choose the fourth one because it shows the sword the best out of all of them, since I tried them already. And then I'll go to the camera over here and do a few changes, because if you notice, if I go back to the viewport over here, actually it looks better over here. But why? That is because in the first part we went to shading, we chose matte cap, we added the cavities to the ambient occlusion, the shadows. When we go to the render, it's not taking all of that into account, right? So I can't quickly add all of what we have in the viewport. That would be a bit complicated. We're going to have to bake textures. Again, these are technical stuff, so completely ignore it for now. That's fine if you don't know what it is. But instead, I can add ambient occlusion, for example. So if you get closer over here and I check this here in the camera icon, you'll see right away that it adds some shadow between the edges, right? So we can expand this and maybe just increase the factor to 5 and the distance as well, just a bit for this object. So right now, if I click on it, you can see that it makes a bit of a difference. We'll play around with the other settings in a second, but for now, let's go back to the material icon and start applying the colors. So first things first is you want to switch to edit mode or with Control Tab, okay? And then we can grab the polygons that we want to apply to each color. So for example, if I want to grab this one over here, with L, I can grab it. It will select the linked polygons or the islands, since it is separate from the object, which was explained in the first part. And then I can go to dark and assign. So right away, you're going to see that it affects the material of that set of polygons. So we can do the same for here with L, since the sphere is separate. We can assign the blue to it, and then we will grab, let's see. For the rest, it will be a bit different because the whole object over here is actually linked. So we're going to have to manually choose the polygons we want to apply the new color to. So what we're first going to do is grab this one over here. So L, and then H for hide. And just by the way, Alt H will unhide it. So let's do that again, H. And we will grab the yellow part and hide it as well with H. Okay, so we can get a bit closer, and with Alt and click, we can grab the loop over here. We're gonna do the same over here with Alt Shift click and Alt Shift click over here as well. So for this part, I will apply the green to it. I'll do the same probably to this part. So Alt and then Alt Shift click, Alt Shift click. Same over here and same over here. I'll do the same for, yeah, let's do that for this as well. Or for now we won't. Let me just see what it looks like. So I'll apply green to it. So assign again, perfect. And then I will grab this. So with Alt and click, I'll do the same over here, 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 and here. So again, Alt Shift click. Anyways, we will go down and select brown, assign, perfect. And then we will grab this part, so Alt and click, Alt Shift and click so that we don't deselect the first one, Alt Shift click over here, and then Shift click over here. We will assign, let's see, the yellow to this. There you go. Now the colors, you can assign whatever colors you want to, obviously, it's just randomly choosing colors that I think would go well together. So Alt and click over here, and I'll do the same to this section with Shift, and then I will apply, let's see, yellow. Why not? There you go. Perfect. So notice I didn't really grab the upper part because, again, by default, it's already assigned to the first one. So now we can take a look at this and we can play around with the colors to make it work a bit more. But first thing I want to do is, let's see. In edit mode, you can Alt H to unhide everything and then go back to object mode. So either tab or Control Tab object mode. And then we can go to the green, maybe actually the brown is a bit too saturated in my opinion, or maybe too dark. There you go. We can lighten it up. And we can go to the yellow. Let me just push this down so that I can see what's going on. And I can maybe, I can turn it a bit to the orange side like that. And go to the green again and maybe add a bit more saturation for the green. And yeah, that's think that looks good for now. We can change it whenever we want. So anyways, for the blue one, we will change the type of the material, and I'll explain why in a second. So over here, it's principled shader, right? Shaders, again, maybe in another video. We're not really focused on creating shaders and materials in this video. It's just to upload it to Sketchfab. But anyways, you can switch from principled to emission. This is just to show you a cool trick. And then we can change the color to the saturated blue, as you can see. So right now it doesn't really look like much, but if you go back to the camera over here, you can activate bloom. Nice. And you can also play around with the threshold, so just so this white over here, the gray, doesn't emit that much bloom, and that the emission emits more. We can even increase the intensity. Okay, and then go back to materials, and for the gray over here, I'll decrease the intensity of the lightness to over here. And yeah, it looks pretty good. I think we can still play around with the colors a bit to improve them. But overall, that pretty much covers up how to apply flat colors in Blender 2.8. Okay, so at this point, I'll just do a quick few changes before we export it to Sketchfab. So we can always go back to the model and then modify the shape a bit. So let's say, for example, I would like to take this part, maybe pull it up a bit, and then Control R for rings. I can increase the rings with the scroll and with the scroll of the middle mouse button, just in case you missed the first part of the video, but hopefully you didn't. And then I'll grab this over here, extrude it with E, then scale it down, and then I will, let's see, hit number 2 to grab the edges. I'll grab this loop over here with Alt, and then Alt Shift for the other loop, Control B for bevel. I can bevel this a bit, and this way I can hit number 3, go to face, grab this with Alt, and then apply the green to this one. So right now it looks a bit better. I think it can still be improved a bit. Maybe if I grab this, Control B for bevel, and then scale it upwards. And as you can see, you can quickly just modify the object even after applying the materials. There you go. It's always a bit hard to decide what kind of shape you want to go for. I don't really have anything in mind. I'm just playing around with the shapes, but we won't really keep on doing that for long because I'd like to move on and start exporting the object. Okay, so I think this is pretty good. Let's just call it done for the modeling. And again, we can always go back to the colors and then change them a bit. Maybe push this a bit towards the green. There you go. And we can change the HDRI over here, so shading, and we'll go to the last one. It gives a more RPG adventure look. There you go, perfect. Maybe go to the dark over here and darken it up a bit. And to the gray, and give it a bit of a bluish color. And same for the dark one. We can add some saturation. Okay, and maybe play around a bit with the green. Let's see, maybe I think that's good enough. All right, so I'm going to stick with this, and I'll show you how to export the sword and start playing around with Sketchfab. Actually, scratch that, just one last change before we move on. I'll just grab the sphere, make it a bit smaller, and darken the green. I think it's a bit too bright. We can do the same for the brown, and then change the yellow a bit. There you go, saturate it a bit, perfect. And finally, we can grab the gray and darken it up just a bit. Perfect. So I think this pretty much sums it up for the sword. So to export it and take it to Sketchfab, we can select the sword over here, and then go to File, Export, FBX, and then just click on selected objects, just in case you have other objects in the scene. So that only takes the sword into account. You can name it whatever you want. So I will call this, let's see, sword and tutorial. Perfect. And then we can just hit export FBX. And we're pretty much done for this part. All right, so go to sketchfab.com, as you can see over here, and then you can sign up and create your own account. Once you do, you can check out the news feed and see other people's uploads. So basically in this website, you can upload your 3D model and you can share it with people who don't use 3D programs, so they can basically check it out in the 3D space. So if we take this one as an example, we can see over here that I can rotate by clicking and dragging. I can zoom in and out with the scroll button, and I can click on the middle mouse button to pan. So this is by Render Bunny. Since I opened it up, might as well give credit. And I found a really cute one. I mean, this is so cute. I mean, Puppuccino, look at the title. Anyway, so as you can see over here, you can also do animations and upload them as well. But again, if you're completely new to 3D and 3D programs, take it step by step. For now, stick to modeling and you'll get there. So anyways, this is by Kathy. You can check out her stuff. You can see other cool models. Some people are seriously creative with their stuff, and they found out really cool ways to share it on this website. So once you're done looking at other people's work, you can upload your own. So if you click over here after you log in, or you go to your account and you'll find a button as well, you can basically upload your FBX file, the one we exported. So if you choose file, and I think this one was it was this one right over here. So Sword Tutorial Sketchfab. If I double click this, I can continue over here, and then you can name it, description, you can check this out. But basically after you're done, you can click on continue and it will process the model. Sketchfab is bugging with me today, so it's going to take a while. So I already did it beforehand. Here it is. So it will send you to this page over here. If it does not, you can always go to your account and find it. And once you get over here, it's not done yet. You can go to 3D settings. So let's click on this. There you go. And you'll see over here, there are a lot of options. Now you can play around and check out each one, but just to show you a quick example of what you can do. So we can go to lighting and choose the environment lights. So this is the HDRIs like I showed you in Blender. So for example, I'm just going to go with the basic studio. There you go. And then I can go to, here are the materials. So the materials we created, you can find them over here. That's why I created them in Blender. And you can also change the color. So it's never too late to change it in this website. And there are other options. We'll get into that for a second. You'll notice over here that the blue emission that I made is not available on Sketchfab, and that is simply because they have something different for it, so you're going to have to apply it over here. I'll show you in a second. If you go to post-processing filters, we're going to start over here. We can add some ambient occlusion with this over here. So let me just maybe increase the intensity. So if I get closer, you can see that it adds ambient occlusion, right? And you can go over the question mark to see what each one does. So you can add some grain over here. You can add some sharpness to the object. You can add chromatic aberration. This is kind of like a camera effect. It's a bit too strong by default. Maybe decrease it a bit. There you go. Be subtle. So yeah, this is already looking a lot better than a few seconds ago. We can add the bloom effect, so that's what we did in Blender. So it's kind of similar over here as well. We can add a vignette, there you go. And then we can go back to materials. Okay, so in materials, you can select the material that you applied to your object. So as you can see, I can select each part over here. So let me select this one just to add the emission. We can go to, let's see, emission over here. It's on. I will increase it to 10 and change the color over here. So if you click on it, go to color and go to blue, you can add some saturation. So you can see some of the color showing up over here, but we can go to the base color, which is basically the color we applied in Blender. But since it didn't take this one into account, since it was a different shader, we have to do it again. So go to color over here, go to blue, and we can add some saturation. So yeah, we are starting to get the bloom effect that we had earlier in Blender. I don't really think with this object it'll make much of a difference to play around with the rest. Maybe I can add some metalness. I don't know, it wouldn't really change anything in this case. But obviously, if you have textures, this is something I did not show you guys in this tutorials. If you create textures, then you can play around with a lot of these stuff like normal and bump map, displacements. But if these names are not, like, you don't know what normal means or displacement, don't worry about it. It's just 3D terms that you'll end up getting to know as you practice more and you learn more stuff. So for now, you can ignore all of that. And I think that pretty much sums it up for Sketchfab. I don't really think I need to go any further. Obviously, you can play around over here. For example, I can add a ground shadow. So if I turn this on, you'll see the shadow of the sword, maybe decrease the intensity. It's a bit too strong. And yeah, overall, I think this is pretty cool. We can always decrease the intensity of the grain. Maybe it's a bit too much, just a bit. There you go. Okay, so once you're done, you can save your settings. So if I save the settings like this, okay, you can publish it. And once you publish it, you'll have a link and you'll be able to share it with your friends. One last thing, you can save the view over here. So after you publish it, or, well, in my case, I didn't publish it, but right now I'm viewing the model. This is what people will see once you publish it and share the link. They will basically start off wherever you save the view. So if I save the view like this, then when they open the link, they will start with the sword looking like that. And then obviously, you know, they can rotate, zoom in and zoom out and do whatever they want. Okay, so that pretty much sums it up for this tutorial. 2 parts. So if you watched both of them, you know, kudos to you. That's a start. You just got into the 3D world. Now, it's a lot more than what I explained. It's just impossible to show everything in a short amount of time. But I wanted you guys to get started so that you can go ahead and start discovering everything that is to discover. But let me just give you a few advice before I let you guys go. Hopefully, you know, you got to this part of the video. 1, art takes time. 2, it's about the art fundamentals, not the program. So it's good to do 3D, you know, 3D stuff with a 3D program. But if you want to be good at what you do, like if you're doing environment art, you know, character art like I do, then you really need to work on your art fundamentals. If you don't know what that is, just go research it, or it will be for another video on this channel. Anyways, it takes a lot of time, it takes patience, but it's worth it, and you'll end up enjoying it, even if sometimes it's just frustrating. But that's pretty much how it is with every other skill in the world when you're really trying to master it. So yeah, check out my channel. I have a very interesting video for you guys, which is called how to master anything with 3 steps, something like that. Check out my channel. That video would actually be pretty good for you guys to go from here to, you know, go ahead and basically learning the rest, because that video tells you how to do that. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give the video a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel. Just don't forget, my channel is not really about beginner stuff generally. It's more intermediate, advanced users, and I do a lot of time-lapse videos, character stuff, you know, art advice. So keep that in mind before subscribing, obviously. But I think the channel can be really good for you if you're really interested in pushing your skills forward. So yeah, you can also send me your results on Twitter. You can find my Twitter in the description below, on my Instagram and all of that. So nothing more to say. Nope, that's about it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more awesome character sculpts and art related videos. You can also check out my store for full courses on character sculpting, texturing, materials, brushes and more. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, then you will definitely enjoy the next one.